Welcome everyone to the Workforce Development Series presented by the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance and the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council. And we are delighted to have you with us today. My name is Gene Woods, and I am President and CEO of Atrium Health, the largest, most comprehensive health system in North Carolina. And I'm also Vice Chair of the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council and Co-Chair of its Workforce Development Working Team. Atrium Health, the CELC, and Charlotte Alliance believe deeply in the vital importance of growing a strong and diverse workforce to ensure the success of all of our businesses in the greater Charlotte region. Because we know that hiring and developing people with diverse backgrounds and perspectives can lead to better decision-making, to greater innovation, and higher engagement in the workplace. In fact, according to a recent McKinsey report, an analysis of 366 public companies found that those in the top quartile for ethnic and racial diversity were 35% more likely to have financial returns above their industry means. So it turns out that diversifying our workforce and leadership teams is not only the right thing to do, but it's also good for business as well. That is why here at Atrium, our Career Development Center focuses on developing new competencies and skill sets that will lead to higher paying jobs for our own teammates and those in our community, including through programs such as Rise to Success, Education That Works, the Mayor's Youth Employment Program, Health Career Pathways, and Road to Hire. More specifically, we are working in partnership with businesses, local government, and community leaders to establish strong economic mobility pipelines so that we can give everyone a real chance at a better life through specific job skills, training, and professional development opportunities, which can turn into rewarding careers that have generational impact. But we can't do this alone. That is why we need each of you here to play a pivotal role in this impactful work. And our goal is to form a broad-based coalition of people committed to ensuring equitable economic opportunities for all in our community. So as you participate in the series today, we hope that you get inspired and embrace this opportunity to enhance the innovation, creativity, and success of your own organizations through programs that prepare diverse talent to fill your workforce needs. Working together, I strongly believe that we will make the greater Charlotte region a model for economic mobility for the rest of the nation, which ultimately will build healthier communities and enhance the vitality of all those who reside in our amazing city. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see some faces here, and I want to welcome you to our Workforce Development Series. This is the fourth session in our five-part series. My name is Catherine Black, and I work for Bank of America, where I lead the deployment of philanthropic investments and economic mobility programs across 91 markets. I've also had the great privilege of supporting our CEO, Bryan, and chairing the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council. And you heard Jean just mention that. That council is a group of about 30 CEOs, C-suite leaders, and 3 college and university presidents who come together very much focused on solving economic mobility issues in our city and region, whether it's education, workforce, affordable housing, healthy communities. So I am thrilled that I've had the opportunity to work with great leaders like Jean and others. So in partnership with the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance has presented this virtual workforce development series with 3 objectives. The first is informing hiring managers about local programs successfully developing and providing talent for peer companies. Second is engaging hiring managers in CELC workforce development initiatives, where we've had the goal of hiring 1,500 students from these programs that we've been showcasing in 2021. And the third is empowering hiring managers to incorporate local workforce development programs into your talent strategy. So we want to thank you for participating in today's session. I think it's one of the The highest participation rates we've seen thus far, which is exciting, will feature the WIN program and Road to Hire in this conversation. And at the end, we'll allow you the opportunity to ask us questions, whether you want to unmute yourself and ask or put it in the chat to Ashley Hedrick. So before we get started, let's start with the why. Why is this an important conversation? Well, first, the Alliance has shared data that 55% of the region eligible workers post-high school do not have a degree. We know that nationally, the unemployment rate for high school graduates is over 6%. That's the unemployment rate. That's double that if you have a bachelor's degree, so 3% if you have a bachelor's degree. But if you have not even a high school diploma, you have 3 times, that group has 3 times the unemployment rate of those with a bachelor's degree. So the point here is we're talking about economic mobility, we're talking about jobs, livable wage, career track jobs. Today, we're focusing on our technology workforce because this region has experienced the fastest tech talent growth among major metros between 2010 and 2020. Right now, we have about 60,000 tech workers in Charlotte, and we know the demand is far greater. So we want to talk about alternative pathways into these quality jobs. We have structures in place to help solve this issue and this gap of supply and demand. So today, let's hear from leaders and graduates of 2 programs, WIN, which is the Workforce Initiative Network, and Road to Hire. I'll start with Pasha Mayer. Pasha is the managing director of the Carolina FinTech Hub and head of the WIN program. He has previously held roles at Bank of America, Quiet Stream Financial, and Lending Tree. So Pasha, let me hand it over to you for an overview of the WIN program and to showcase one of your program graduates.
Thanks, Catherine. And as always, thanks to the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance for letting us be here today. And thanks for everyone for wanting to learn a little bit more about our organization. So I have Erin with me today. She is a graduate, so speak at the end of this. Who am I? Catherine, thanks for the introduction. I'm the managing director at Carolina FinTech Hub. I've been here since the inception of the WIN program. I've had the honor of being part of this for a long time. So you can go to the next slide and we'll just go ahead and get started. So what is WIN? The Workforce Investment Network. So like Catherine was saying, what we've learned more and more is that college is a luxury. It's not a choice for everyone. If you are someone in the lower quintiles of poverty, maybe you're struggling with the idea of going to college in the first place because of career readiness in school. Maybe it's a luxury because you can't afford it financially. Whatever is inhibiting you from getting to where it is you're trying to get to vocationally and from a career readiness standpoint, there's still potential there. There's still aptitude. There's still something that can be tapped into if the resources are in the right place. So our mission, right, is in 24 weeks, we're going to get people technology ready. We'll train them, provide them support. So one of the biggest things for us, we're 18 plus and a high school degree is all you need, right? So the things that Catherine said about not having a bachelor's degree, that's not going to get in the way. If you are working, and I'm obviously stereotyping here, I'll show some profiles in a bit of some of the candidates who've come through the program, but let's say you're 28 and you're working at Target and you can't afford to take a semester off to work and then pay a semester and then take a semester off to work and then pay a semester. You're just never going to get to where you're going. And also the lack of continuity makes you excluded from internships, co-ops, a lot of these things that candidates need in order to actually get the jobs, as Catherine mentioned, again, with unemployment, even when people get undergraduate degrees. So for us, it's 24 weeks where we'll teach you how to learn in technology or work in technology. You'll actually get on the job training experience. You'll have an opportunity to work with some of our partners here like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Truist, EY, Ally, and many, many, many others. And by the end of that, assuming that you've done all the things you need to do in order to graduate, you will transition into a full-time role with one of those prestigious organizations. So go to the next slide. Like we said, the thing that gets in the way of these people's lives is not their aptitude and their potential and their willingness to work. It is life, right? Paying bills. So we actually pay, and the candidates are with us Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So that's a 40-hour work week, and they get paid about $18 an hour. So they receive pretty competitive stipends, especially when you think about the alternatives out there. College, obviously, you're paying a stipend Boot camps, obviously you're paying a stipend. And you'll even see some other programs out there that do some type of tuition reimbursement or something like that, right? It doesn't solve the issue that you have today. I have to pay bills today. I have a child at home that needs to be taken care of today. So our mission is really whatever's going on in your life, we'll take care of that. And we can do that through a wide array of relationships that we have with our nonprofits. And just in general, the community has really leaned into us, and we're super grateful for that. So if you can go to the next slide here, your average candidate pipeline. And I think the question we get the most is, how do you find these people, right? So, we're kind of all over the place. I think a good mantra is, if your mom hits you over the head and says, hey, have you heard about this program? Why haven't you applied? That's a good place to start. If we can get your pastor or your barber or anyone in your community really hyping you up about this and telling you about it, then we know we've done the grassroots work needed to access and tap people on the other side of the digital divide, right? We can't do all of this marketing on the internet. So we're in community centers, we're in churches, we're all over the place on the ground doing information sessions and getting a bunch of folks to apply. So each cohort, we have about 1,000 people apply. They'll take our version of the SAT or GRE or whatever you want them to do. We do a case study, written response, and then we interview them a bunch. I make this joke kind of tongue in cheek, and I don't actually think this is funny at all, but we're more competitive than Harvard. Our acceptance rate is 3%. Harvard's acceptance rate is 4%. So as you see, there's a huge interest from the community, and there's so much more that we can do as a community to help these people in terms of the opportunities that they can do, the amount of jobs that we can take, et cetera, right? I think that the 3%, the way I kind of think about it, and I don't want this to be a political conversation, is basically we give hope to about 1,000 people, and then we take hope away from 900 of them, right? So something our organization is doing is thinking strategically about, like, well, what do we do with those 900? How can we get them career ready so that they can join us in a future cohort, or put them in pathways that they can go pursue other opportunities? And I won't get into that because that's a different conversation, but I know the people on this call are interested in that and thinking about it. So if you have comments and again, you want to follow up after this meeting, I'd love to have a conversation about that. We have ideas, and I'll get into that another time, but next slide. So for us, who we are and who we've served, we've done 3 cohorts so I've been in this organization for 4 years. We planned it for about 2, and we've had about 2 years of ongoing actual running and operating cohorts. We've had 113 people go in through our first 2 years. And if you're familiar with the workforce development landscape, especially people who offer job placement at the end of it, right? Unprecedented start, really, in terms of the numbers that we've been able to impact. I'll start on the left side here in terms of income. About half our folks come in making no income, being unemployed. The other half, they have a median income of about $20,000, right? Unfathomable on how you can live. And especially when you see in a second, the average age is 31 years old, how you can live as a 30-year-old adult. Most of these people have a partner and a child at home. Really difficult to think about how you're going to be able to afford to pay your bills and go to school at the same time, especially supporting a family. Gender, we're happy that our most recent cohort was over 50% female, and we average about 80% people of color. And then the bottom left there, you can see approximate expected 3-year wage growth of a WIN graduate. We expect them to hit the 6-figure mark. Within the first 3 years, we find a lot of candidates get there within 18 months, which we're really excited about. Next slide, please. I'm going to gloss through the curriculum at the end here, but I want to focus on these 2 stories. So this is Bryan. Bryan was in our first cohort. 6 years ago, I found myself living on the street. 4 years ago, I found a job paying minimum wage. Those things are not what define me. I see myself as an intelligent young man with a thirst for learning and an even greater hunger for helping others. Now that the WIN program has given me a chance to realize my potential, I cannot wait to join EY and show them what I can do. That quote's a bit dated. He's been at EY for 2 years now. I know Bryan's been killing it. He's gotten a promotion. We're super excited about him. And, when you're working with people who have dealt with trauma, right, they don't identify themselves through their trauma, or they see themselves as having the potential to succeed or overpass that trauma. So it is something that Bryan obviously hopes to not allow to define his legacy, but something that's real and had to be dealt with. So we worked with him to figure out a situation, and we were glad that he was able to go through the program. Next slide, please. Candice, I'm a mother, daughter, and sister who has relocated from Chicago. This is when she was a little bit younger before she came into the program, in search of a better quality of life. While a few things may have altered my course in life, teenage pregnancy and community violence, I recognize that I'm a victor rather than a victim. It is my goal to ultimately thrive in my career so I can pay it forward and allow other underutilized talent to have this profound opportunity to realize their full potential in a field they may not have had access to pursue otherwise. So Candice, teenage pregnancy, high school dropout, got her GED, and is now a employee at Bank of America, which we're super excited about. So next slides, I'm going to breeze through the curriculum. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Our entire thesis, right? We want to do a generalized track in the beginning. Hey, introduce you to full stack web development, introduce you into computing, start making you think about professional development in the sense that soft skills, and I won't bore you on the curriculum too much, but give them an opportunity to do some soft skills learning. And then when we actually get them on the job and have them start thinking about their placement, we'll spend time specializing on exactly what they are going to do. So our whole thesis is, if we tell the employers what jobs we can train for, we're doing you no favors. We want to actually reverse engineer this and say, hey, what jobs are you hiring for? And then we'll go out and we'll specialize and get them in those roles. So it can be something as like esoteric as, hey, we really want them to be AWS certified. Okay, that's easy. We want them in something that is tangential to full stack development, like data and data science. Okay, easy. We want them in a non-tech role, agile project management. Okay, great. We can get them certified, all that stuff. So our relationship with our employers is super important. We actually do our placement very early on, and we try to specialize as much as possible. So we're not just spitting out zombies who are, hey, I'm good at coding. We want them to be job ready and hit the ground running when they get to their career. Next slide, please. A little bit more on that. Next slide. And this is kind of our timeline. You can see 24-week program. They are actually spending time near the end of it doing the on-the-job training, and at the very end, they do a capstone project, and it's all over that quickly. So that's it for the slideshow. Why don't we actually meet a graduate? Erin is with me, Erin Woodard. So I think we've been running this program for about 2 years, like I said, and we were smart enough to say, hey, let's hire one of these graduates because they're so good. So Erin actually, she was doing a great job with us in the program, and we decided to hire her full time so that one day she can make me look obsolete, because I think her perspective in terms of having gone through the program and knowing what it's like for a candidate to actually endure the 24 weeks is really valuable moving forward as we try to make this bigger and better for everyone in the community. So Erin, I will let you introduce yourself, talk about your experience in the program. And then I don't know, Ashley, are we doing questions now or all the way at the end?
We're going to hold questions till the end, but if you have them, go ahead and put them in the chat. Start thinking about what you want to ask when.
Okay. So Erin, you want to introduce yourself, and then Erin and we'll be able to answer your questions at the end for people who are curious about her perspective.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. My name is Erin, and I work with Carolina FinTech Hub now. Before this, I was in the WIN program, and before the WIN program, I was working as a manager at a coffee shop. To kind of start off where I began, I had the privilege to go to community college outside of high school and then go to a full-time university. However, for life reasons, I had to leave that university and start working. And at some point in my life, I realized that I wanted to learn more, do more, but unfortunately, I would not be able to go back to school and survive financially. So I started looking to certifications for technology, and that's when someone was like, hey, have you heard about this program? And I was like, no, I haven't. And, I applied to WIN, got in, and had to do the 24-week strenuous program. During that time, it really taught me more about how to be very determined about what I wanted to do, to have intent and kind of follow through, as well as kind of leaning on people to find help, and to really kind of look inside of myself and figure out, like, I can do this. I can do this. I know I can do this because they accepted me. So you just kind of have to get your hands to keyboard and learn as much as you can in those 24 weeks, and, hope for the best. And thankfully, me and everyone in my cohort, I was in cohort 3, me and everyone in the cohort were able to graduate. And as far as I know, that we were the first cohort to graduate 100%. So I'm really proud of myself as well as proud of all of my cohort mates. And I definitely keep in contact with a lot of them. And that's just kind of how the program is, built, to where you find a sense of community with everyone. Even though we were online because of COVID, we were able to find a sense of community with each other. And I definitely have lifelong friends now. So that's really great to have after the program.
Thanks for sharing,
Thank you.
Erin. Last thought I'll put in everyone's brain, right? Erin's story is not unique in the sense that she had to juggle life, job, and the potential of her future in technology, right? I think the thing that really distinguishes this program is not me, Tarek, or anyone on our team. It's the fact that our partners and our sponsors believe in this premise that these people deserve a livable wage at the start of this, and they treat it like a job to begin, right? So making $18 an hour, right? That does change your ability to actually focus on learning while paying bills and taking care of your family and stuff like that. So we're able to find a really qualified candidate like Erin and people like her. And that's all made possible, right, because of the resource commitment in the beginning. So we're excited to offer this opportunity to people in this cohort coming up. So we're actually taking applications now for cohort 4. If you know anyone who's interested in applying, we encourage them to visit www.carolinafintechhub.org/win. And with that, shameless plug, we're going to say back to you, Catherine and Ashley.
Catherine, do you want me to introduce? Yes, okay. Thank you, Pasha and Wynn. That was very informative. We've already got a question in the chat, but we'll get to that again at the end of the segment. Now I'd like to introduce Road to Hire.
I can do it now.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
my cursor just disappeared to go
Freaked
off
out.
mute. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Thank you for covering for me. That's the worst feeling. Welcome to our virtual meeting environment. So I'm excited to introduce Nikki, who's the Director of Development and Partnerships with Road to Hire. The Road to Hire team is a group of 30 nonprofit leaders, leading tech professionals and former educators based in Charlotte. Their headquarters are housed at their corporate partner, Red Ventures main campus. I'll turn it over to Nikki, and this time I'm just not going to put myself on mute so I don't end up with that same problem. So Nikki, it's all you.
Thank you, Catherine. Good morning. Good morning, everyone who's here with us. I'd like to thank the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance and CELC for the invitation to speak with you this morning about Road to Hire. Road to Hire promotes economic justice for young adults through on-ramps to high-growth, high-earning careers. And you got some of the data earlier today from Catherine and also Pasha, but in the US today, 6 million young adults are out of school and out of work, while almost 1 million tech jobs go unfulfilled, and companies really struggle to diversify their tech workforces. So it's Road to Hire's intent, that's our mission, to combat that problem and work to provide economic justice for young adults. Road to Hire supports high school seniors via the Pathways program, college students through the Pathways Scholarships program, and young professionals via the apprenticeship program, all of whom are on their way to sustainable careers. And essentially, we have 3 entry points to that one path to economic justice. So since 2016, Road to Hire has supported over 1,300 young adults, including nearly 900 active participants and over 400 program alumni who are now employed, advancing in their careers. But today we are just going to focus on the apprenticeship program for young professionals. So the apprenticeships program links talented 18 to 25-year-olds from groups who are underrepresented in tech with employers who are committed to using a non-traditional talent pipeline to diversify and enhance their tech workforces. So similar to when this program is intense, It's 6 months, it's paid, and Road to Hire prepares students for professional tech jobs, focusing during the curriculum portion of the training, we focus equally on technical skills and professional development. So working in teams, giving and receiving feedback, public speaking, all the things that you'll need to be successful in your professional role. Once apprentices complete the rigorous program, then they're well prepared for their entry-level roles in software development, cybersecurity, business intelligence. On average, they earn $55,000 per year at the partner employers, and then they go on to do things like buy their first home, support their families, reinvest in themselves. Our partners include Bank of America, Truist, Duke Energy, Lowe's, and many others. I've provided you a bit of detail, but I do want to be sure to also share some specific numbers. It thrills me to share that 96% of our participants identify as people of color, 40% identify as female or non-binary, 95% remain at partner employers after the first year, and 87% are promoted within 2 years. Many of our alumni with more than 5 years of experience at their employers are making over $100,000 per year. And we're really proud of the success that these young people receive, because that success comes from their hard work meeting this opportunity. So we know that the results of the Road to Hire program have been remarkable because we get feedback from the partners, there's low attrition rates, and the life-changing impact that high-earning careers have for our grads and their families. In addition, Road to Hire also invests in mentorship, wraparound support, just to make sure that these young adults aren't just starting careers, but also thriving in these professional roles and have the tools that they need to grow. So they're comfortable learning to learn and comfortable speaking up and lending their voice in their new professional settings. Of course, I could sing our praises for this entire session, but there's nothing like hearing from the people who have been impacted by this program. So I have invited Artia Wright, a March 2021 coding apprenticeship graduate, and her manager, Mike Dascola from Truist. Welcome, Mike and Artia.
Thanks, Nikki. I appreciate you inviting us.
You're most welcome. So as we get started, I really want to pivot to you, Artia, first. Just share a bit about yourself, about your background, why you applied for the Road to Hire program.
Yeah, sure. So you've already given me the introduction. So of course, my name is Artia Wright. I'm an associate design engineer for Truist. I'm coming up on about 8 months now. So I'm excited to eventually celebrate my 1-year anniversary. Also, my main role includes supporting the efforts of my team that works within public sites. So I'm ensuring that we deliver great work based on organizational needs, based on client needs. So that could range from coding directly to our .com site, or also contributing to internal sites for other team members that develop within Truist as well. I would say sometimes that is a little challenging, but I'm definitely embracing the challenge. And I also have appreciated the foundation that Road to Hire has set for me, making it easy to kind of work through my path and be comfortable with getting to learn and getting to touch new things. Just to give a little background, about a year or two ago, I was actually in social work. So I was actually working for the Department of Social Services. I always wanted to be in the tech field, but if I'm being extremely honest, I did not think I was smart enough. I didn't think I was techie enough to actually see myself working in that field. But I've always had a passion for looking into other opportunities for my community and for myself that extended the option for someone to jump into a different career without actually having to go through college. And that's how I found out about Road to Hire. And going through the rigorous course, it was a lot. We definitely stayed up late night, early mornings, Zoom calls, group chats, everything. But ultimately, I would definitely say it definitely prepared us well for the journey that we got to take. So I'm excited to be with Truist. I love Mike. He's awesome. And Truist has been home for me. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Artia. That's great. That's great. It tickles me that you don't think that you are smart enough or bright enough to be in tech, because clearly you are, and more so. Mike, I would like to bring you into the conversation. If you could share your background, your title, your role, but also how you got to the great opportunity to manage Artia.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Artia is very humble. She's really intelligent. So we've enjoyed having her. So I'm Mike Deskell. I'm the Senior Vice President of the User Experience at Truist. I manage a team with two different skill sets. We've got front-end coding and we've got visual design. And I've been with Truist now for about 10 and a half years. So it's been very interesting. And I'm based in Raleigh, North Carolina. The program that when we got involved with this, it was really a gift from my boss. He mentioned that we were getting involved with this, and I had never heard of it. But when I started looking into it, I thought it was perfect for me because I actually started our first design internship program. It was very successful. So this actually saved me a whole lot of time. And the goal of that program, like this one, was to help individuals get experience that otherwise, like you was mentioned several times, they wouldn't normally have access to these opportunities. So it was great. It was a perfect connection.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I mean, it's great to hear that your passion that you had prior is moving into your professional opportunities now. Artia, I want to pivot back to you. Can you share a bit about when you were preparing to interview for this role with Truist, and what the experience was like from the Road to Hire program? How did the program prepare you for that next step?
Yeah, I would definitely say a lot of my cohort members and myself, initially we went into it very nervously, right? Because it's like, we've done this 6-month course, we've learned all that we can learn, we've applied everything, but there's always still this inkling that maybe you don't know as much as you think you know. And I think Road to Hire did a good job just reassuring us that we indeed do know exactly how much we think that we know. And so getting to collaborate with previous cohort members and also other people who volunteered their time from other organizations to run through those practice questions, to help us with whiteboarding, making sure that we understand all the concepts that we've covered was definitely helpful. And it definitely helped me feel comfortable when I did have my interview with Mike, and also one of our other Truist members, Lynn, and making it feel like home, making it feel like Truist was where I needed to be, and making it feel like there was something I could actually contribute and bring to Truist. So that experience was great. I feel like it taught me to just listen and also be prepared to answer in the best way possible. But not only that, not to shortcome myself on what I think I can bring to the table as well.
That's some wonderful learning about how you prepared Artia. And I love that you were so intentional about that. So Mike, I'd like to ask you a similar question. How did you prepare to manage early emerging talent?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing that we had to do, well, that I coached the other people that were in the interview, was to look past like the interview itself and look more at the character of the individual, because a lot of people, it's very nerve-wracking to go into a room full of people you don't know and talk about things that are relatively could possibly be new to you. And a lot of people that were in that call, they have 4, 5, 6, 10 years, 15 years of experience. So the most important thing that I did to prepare was to let everyone know, like, let's just have a conversation. Don't rip them apart. Let's just talk and just make it a casual conversation. Keep an open mind. A lot of the people that we interview, they throw around these industry buzzwords, and not everybody knows what they mean. So that was one thing we hear a lot from veterans. So we don't always hear that from people like Artia, who's, relatively new. So so our thing was, don't get hung up on that. If they don't use the buzzwords, that's okay. But the most important thing when it comes to Artia, because she's been great to work with. I mean, really, she's one of our stars. I mean, really, we looked for, when we met her, we just knew instantly. I'm like, are you kidding me with her? We got to get her in here. We looked for character over substance. People are not going to have like a vast portfolio of work. So it really comes down to, what are they willing to do? What kind of energy are they fired up? Do they really want this? In Artia's case, she was very well spoken. She seemed capable of self-teaching. She had a passion for the craft. And it just made it easy to choose her.
Wow. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mike. I think that's helpful for other managers when they're on their journey of deciding how they're going to prepare to really support and coach young adults in their career. So Artia, you're on the other side now. You're on the path. You're clearly a star and doing great things in your role with Truist. If you had the opportunity to give advice to other people who might be preparing for the Road to Hire program or a similar program and entering, what advice would you give them? What criteria do you think a prospective student would need to be successful?
Yeah, I think Mike hit it on the head. I think he hit the nail on the head in saying that determination is key. To just be a little open during my time at Road to Hire. Not only was I, participating in the 6-month rigorous course, but I was also, business manager for a startup. So that took a lot of my time, but I think understanding the change that Road to Hire was going to make for me in fulfilling my dream and being in the tech industry, I think you have to be prepared to bring your full self to the table. And so for anybody that is perspective from going through Road to Hire, I would say just that, be prepared to try something new, possibly fail at it, but continue to bring your full self to the table.
I love that, being willing to fail at it. That's amazing. So Mike, I'll ask you, and Artia, I'm going to pitch it to you next for final thoughts. But with your final thoughts, Mike, is there anything else that you would share for employers, potential corporate partners who are looking to embark to diversify their talent pipeline, on how they can be successful on this journey?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, don't treat them any differently. Treat them like you would everybody else, but create clear and basic goals for them right up front. Slowly acclimatize them to your company's culture and the industry. Expose them to as many different areas as you can, to everything. This is going to be new for them. So the more that they understand the people that work with them, around them, and they understand their roles, they'll understand quicker where they fit in and where they can add value. So that is critical. The other thing too is, don't forget to make training available. It's very easy to point at a website like Udemy or Pluralsight and say, here you go. But I recommend getting in there yourself. Check it out. Put yourself in their shoes. Is this actually going to help them? Because the more you help them, the more they're going to help you. And it's just going to make life easier for everybody in the long run. So, yeah.
Perfect. I love that thought, Mike. So Artia, final word, I'll pitch it to you. Do you have any final thoughts to share?
So final thoughts. Other than the fact that we need more managers like Mike, I would definitely say, for me, just being on this side, I think I often hear, being on both sides, I often hear organizations discuss and talk about, how to build human capital or how to maximize the talent pool. And I think it starts with programs like Road to Hire. For myself, I'm thankful that I didn't actually come from like the common background of people who have to juggle a lot. I think I was merely just an African-American girl who wanted to see someone like herself in the tech field and was ready to do whatever it took to get into that space and bring value to companies like Truist. So I think in short, we just need more programs like Road to Hire to help people who may have the same dream do the same thing. And in turn, kind of have like a I scratch your back, you scratch mine's benefit. Because I think, you know, people like myself, we have a lot to bring to the table for organizations who are looking for people like us. So that would be my final thought.
Thank you, Artia. Thank you, Mike. Road to Hire, our information is in the chat. We'd love to share more information about how to become partner with Road to Hire. We look for volunteers as well, mentors, guest speakers, and of course, always more employer partners. With that, I will pass it back to you, Catherine.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. And Artia and Mike, Pasha mentioned earlier about making sure that there are good employer partners. I think what Mike shared was so critical because both sides need to be willing to come together. You need to have someone who is passionate about doing the work and being part of the team they're joining. And you need to have the employer passionate about bringing that person in, making them part of your culture. And the beauty is, this isn't saying take unqualified people. This is actually saying take very qualified people. And it doesn't require a 4-year degree to be qualified for various roles. And these are examples of those. Not that there can't be opportunities if people want to take advantage of any employer's education reimbursement programs later on, but what a great way to do either a career launch or a career shift, like Artia mentioned. A few things that I noted said in both of these conversations was this word hope. And I think, Pasha, you referenced, like, how do we give hope to the 900 people that didn't get through? I know Rick Elias has said many times that hope has an expiration date. In other words, like, let's get after it. Let's do this. I think everyone on this call today is here because you see, if you're an employer, which most are, you have demand in your company. And this is an awesome way to get engaged talent and to get diverse talent with all kinds of backgrounds. So I just think this both of these stories, both the WIN story and the Road to Hire story, are perfect examples of how you can take employer demand and create career pathways for a new supply of talent. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to audience Q&A. And Ashley, let us know what may be in the chat or if someone wants to go on screen and ask a question.
Yep, so the first question was from Paul T. that was in the chat. And I'm sorry, it's preschool, guys. But do you and your partners accept individuals who have any form of a criminal background? And that one was really for Pasha, but Nikki, chime in there too.
Yeah, so I'm going to address that and the one that was actually out in the chat. And again, thanks for letting me be here and be part of this conversation. So I think what we find all the time is people pre-disqualify themselves as like, well, this program's great. It just doesn't work for me, right? And they make that excuse because they have 2 kids at home. They make that excuse because they have a job or they need a job to work and stuff like that. We've put felons through the programs. We put people with misdemeanors through the program. I would just say, stop telling people that they can't be in the program and just start there. Oh, and there was another question. Sorry, Nikki. There's another question about, let's see. Oh, do you have specific examples of people and their vocational propensity to like actually accelerate their wage growth? The answer is yes. It is a very personal story to talk about someone's individual finances, right? So we make it an anecdotal conversation. We are actually in the process of putting out a white paper that'll be published later this year that kind of highlights some of those more general conversations, right? So I can say with confidence that the answer is yes. I don't want to give names. I don't want to give stories because it's not my story, not my name. And I would like their consent before sharing. And we hope to share that in late Q4.
Thank you again also for having me here today. With the Road to Hire program, we do accept individuals with misdemeanors into the program. But I love Pasha's answer that we should encourage people to fully investigate the program before doing any kind of self-exclusion.
Ashley, was there another one in? Sorry, I'm afraid my cursor is going to disappear again, so you'll have to read it in the chat.
Yeah, and let's see, there's a couple here around what can the businesses on the call do to align and support your programs, and how can they get in touch with you?
I'll let you take that.
I'll take that. So I think people are really skeptical about what this looks like because there's so much to think about, right? How does this integrate with your HR team? What role do we put them in? What do they look like? Is our manager ready? We really fundamentally believe in crawl before you walk, right? And I think one of the ways that we know from a measurement standpoint that we're doing a good enough job, at least for our employers, to want to come back and recommit is that every employer we've ever had has not only recommitted, but recommitted at a bigger number, right? So start with one is my advice, right? If you have someone in your team who is bold and audacious enough to believe that they can be a part of this, right? Let's start with one manager and let's figure it out from there. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now, which I should have done in the beginning. Apologies for that. But yeah, if you're interested in reaching out, email me directly. We can talk about ways that your organization can get involved. I'll say that if you are here from an organization like a Truist, Ally, UI, et cetera, your organization probably already is involved, and I can point you to the people internally who can help facilitate those conversations.
So I also just put my information in the chat. I would say that as companies are thinking about their early and emerging talent strategy, and many companies have very specific strategies about how many they want to hire and specific goals around wanting to have a diverse workforce. I would say think about first programs like programs like Road to Hire, because we can help meet those needs, and then we can also help ensure that you have grads that are really ready. I mean, Pasha shared their exceptional program of making sure that when they do the acceptance, that they only have people in the program who are ready to take that next step. And Road to Hire is very similar through our gateway process at the beginning of our program. And so you can be assured that if you look to an entity like one of ours, when you're addressing that strategy and the solutions, that we'll be able to deliver amazing talent for you.
Yeah, and if I can jump in and add to that, because Catherine, you already mentioned a McKinsey study, and I thought I was the only person who, anecdotally mentioned McKinsey off the cuff. So I appreciate more people like you and me in the world. But McKinsey did a study a long time ago about these employers who no longer have college degree requirements for their, and Bank of America is one of them, but for their companies, right? Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Google, Microsoft, and Apple. So if those companies can make it work, right? It's obvious that they can work at scale for organizations similar to them. And what they found in this McKinsey study was, hey, let's go to Google and figure out why these employees are the best. And what they found is that their technical skill is not in the top 10. And when you heard Nikki and Artia talk about their journey, right, it's a lot about who the person is. It's a lot about being able to communicate, collaborate, have high EQ in terms of your empathy, self-awareness, self-regulation, stuff like that. All of those are available in spades in non-college degree jobs, right? If you are someone with life experience who's worked, as Erin mentioned, as a manager in a coffee shop, you're managing people, you're managing relationships, right? We can teach you this, the tech side of things, that's easy, right? Teaching you to be a good human, right? We can find those at spades in our community. So when you're thinking about, again, hiring from this program, recognize that the skills, when we talk about the skill gap, right? They have the important skills, they have the high EQ, and we can test for that and teach them the easy part, which is, and this is something that one of the top people at Microsoft said, we no longer find people who know how to code. We identify candidates who can figure out how to code, right? Go on Google and figure it out every day. So that's a skill we're trying to teach.
I think that's awesome. Well said. And one thing that I would share with you all, because I've been on this journey, both as a leader at Bank of America and also in the work I've done with the CELC. I think there's two critical points in a company around these kinds of programs. So one is at the top, does the CEO or some of the key or line of business leaders that would be taking the talent, are they on board with making a commitment in recruiting? And then you have to have your hiring managers as well be on board. Because I've seen both sides that have either worked or not. One is the leader says, yes, we want to do this, maybe makes a commitment, and the hiring managers are thinking, I don't know what to do, with the talent, or are we set up within our company to do it? Or it could be the other way around, where they're needing the hiring manager needs some air cover, or maybe some additional resources to make sure that when the talent comes in, that there are resources to make them successful, whether it's, mentors or other training programs, et cetera. So I feel like over the last 3 years, I've seen both hiring managers, and this workforce series is really to get to hiring managers, but both hiring managers and leaders see the tremendous value in this. And so whether you lead with the on the analytical side to say, hey, I have open roles and demand for this talent, where do I go get it? So that's the business side. Or you say, look at all of the people who are on or underemployed, and there's an opportunity to train them for livable wage, career sustaining roles. I want to do that. And at the end of the day, we're actually doing both. So you've got a heart and a mind there. But I just thought I'd throw that in there because Bank of America has hired from both programs, and successfully so. And we've learned along the way. We've learned how to make the people that come in the program more successful, but we and continue their career journey. But there has been zero regret in doing this work. It has turned out far better than ever anticipated. Any other questions on the chat, or if you want to brave and get on screen with us?
Catherine, there was a question around programs for the hospitality industry. I don't know that answer, but I just wanted to throw it out there in case you had comments around that.
Actually, I think that would be a good follow-up. I've talked with Tom Murray of CRBA, that's all around the hospitality industry. That industry was crushed, as you can imagine, over this pandemic. So let me find out. I know there's a lot around hiring. The training piece, I need to dig in a little bit more, but we'll do that work and follow up with this group. I think it's a great question. All right, let me give you some quick calls to action if you don't have a few written down for yourself already. And then I want to end with a brief video from Carol Lovin, who has been the 2021 chair for the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance. So one, think about a partnership with either of these two programs. Share with employers the hiring opportunities in the tech sector. We'd like your feedback, so please complete the follow-up assessment that you'll receive via email after this call today. We've talked about this, but continue to push the boundaries of what's possible for talent pipelines. Identify roles in demand in your company that would be a good fit to leverage this talent pipeline and these programs. We are hopeful that you're able to join us on October 13th to hear from the Mayor's Youth Employment Program and Charlotte Mecklenburg School, CMS, on how to develop our local talent for success. So with that, I will let Carol Lovin say some parting words. And again, thank you for joining us. And I hope that this has been a great use of your morning.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for your commitment to providing opportunity for all. I'm Carol Lovin, Executive Vice President, Chief Integration Officer, and System Chief of Staff for Atrium Health. And I'm also very proud to be the 2021 chair of the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance. In addition to the assessment and commitment tools mentioned earlier, we've launched a webpage to provide you with the latest information on these programs. The follow-up email will include more details on the programs and how to further engage. Now, one thing you may know is that the Charlotte Alliance's theme this year is Forward Together. We're working to create economic opportunities and prosperity for all. And to do that, we've got to think in new and different ways with respect to our hiring practices and training methods. So when I think about Atrium Health and what we're doing here, one top of mind example is our Restorative Pathways program. In partnership with City Startup Labs, a Charlotte area nonprofit, we're extending our diversity and inclusion efforts to hire 20 justice-involved individuals into select roles. We've already identified the jobs and we're training the supervisors, so we're on our way. As we continue to advance equitable economic growth, it's more than just you or me, it's going to take all of us. And when we say alliance, those first 3 letters do mean all of us working together. So please join us in committing to, first, non-traditional hiring options, secondly, building relationships with these programs, and thirdly, ultimately hiring from them to show that we're really serious about the for all. Thank you for joining us today and moving the Charlotte region forward together.
Well, that concludes our session today. Thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to hopefully having you join us in future sessions. Have a great day, everyone.